Good morning, friends. Monday, April 6th. Well, I hope you were blessed by worship yesterday. It was Palm Sunday. Again, the response of people coming together and viewing our live streaming online worship has been incredible. And so I just want to say thank you for continuing to gather together. We continue to build community and grow together in the midst of difficult circumstances. Well, Pastor Jim yesterday talked about putting your trust in the Lord, putting our trust in Jesus no matter our circumstances. And it got me thinking about, where do we put our trust? In what things or what objects or family or whatever? Where do we put our trust? You know, this shutdown time has really kind of stripped away all of the excess stuff that we used to do. And we're kind of down to a bare minimum. Well, it's also made us think about, where is our trust? You know, the economy is down because of all this fear. And so a lot of people are seeing their retirements or their 401ks or investments that they have kind of dwindle down. Now, first off, relax. I mean, everything that goes down goes back up again. This is just a cyclical thing, but it makes us realize, where is our trust? You know, if we put our trust in money, if we put our trust in our home or even relationships, those things can go away just like that. But the love of the Lord for you never goes away. Your relationship with Jesus Christ never goes away. It is the only true eternal security in our entire life. And so I want to jump back in. We took a little hiatus last week to look at some other passages, but I want to jump back into our series on Philippians. Again, Paul writing from a jail cell, and just overwhelmingly peace, contentment, and joy through all these situations. In Philippians chapter 3, Paul writes this. I'm starting in verse 4, about halfway through. If anyone else thinks he has reason to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. Now, he's addressing people who came in behind him and taught the people at Philippi a distortion of the gospel that he had taught them. In addition, I guess people were kind of putting their security and their trust in their material worldly possessions. So Paul says this, again in verse 4, about halfway through. If anyone else thinks they have reason to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. Circumcised on the 8th day of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, in regard to the law, a Pharisee, as for zeal, persecuting the church, as for a legalistic righteousness, faultless. Now, those words don't mean a whole lot to us today. But what Paul is saying is, to his audience, they understood this. What he is saying is, my resume was impeccable. My resume was perfect. I was the Hebrew of all Hebrews. I was a teacher. I was respected. I had position. I had power. I did everything by the letter perfect. And yet, now he says this in verse 7. But whatever was to my profit, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss compared to the surpassing greatness of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them rubbish. I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ and be found in him. That is a fascinating statement. You know, what are we putting our trust in? Paul says, I put my trust in my perfect resume. I put my trust in worldly things. And now that I have experienced a relationship with Christ, I look at those things as if they were garbage. Can you imagine that? Think about the things that you love in life. Is it your house? Is it your bank account? Is it your cars? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Think about the fact that, as Paul says, when we come into a relationship with Christ, that relationship is such a blessing to us and such an eternal blessing to us that all the things that we used to hold dear and put our trust in are now viewed in light of our relationship with Christ as garbage. That is incredible. It also kind of points out, unfortunately, how much we trust our material possessions and our relationships over our relationship with God. Because if somebody were to say, hey, could I just take away all these things? We would fight them tooth and nail. But the truth is that all those things, if we could keep our relationship with God, if we can keep our relationship with Christ, these things, don't even worry about them. They don't even matter anymore. And so, boy, what a measure of faith, what a test of faith, that our relationship with Christ should put everything else into its proper perspective. So grab your journal and think about this. Honestly, this is just between you and God. What are the things that you're putting your trust in? What are the things that you're trusting and loving more than your relationship with Jesus Christ? That could be a long list. But friends, we have to address those things because those things aren't bad. I'm not saying that those things are bad. What I'm saying is oftentimes we raise up our material possessions and our relationships. We raise them up as our God and say, you know, Jesus, God, you're here when I need you to help me. You're here when I need you, but until then, just kind of stay in your little box over there. And so think about the things that we put our trust in. And certainly this time of shutdown and kind of stripping away all of the excess has really turned us into understanding more and more about our relationship with Christ is the only thing that is of eternal value. Well, I hope this was encouraging for you. It's a tough word for us today, but it's also hopefully an encouraging word for you as you face this new week. I hope this is a blessing to you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. God bless.